Hello guys, in today's video we are going to be discussing Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. We're going to be talking about their new plan, their Unity Task Force, where Bernie Sanders is trying to give Joe Biden recommendations for his platform going into the election. So in today's video, we're going to read this article from The Hill talking about this new Unity Task Force. This article came out on July 8th, today. We're going to discuss who I think Bernie Sanders supporters will go to this election, and the mistake that they made in the 2016 election. And then we're going to compare Joe Biden's policies to Bernie Sanders' policies, and see how different they are. So Biden-Sanders Unity Task Force rolls out platform recommendations. A task force set up by Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee for president, and former presidential contender Senator Bernie Sanders, released a sweeping set of platform recommendations on Wednesday that lays out a progressive roadmap for Democrats, the one that falls short of Sanders' push for radical change. The task force, which was launched in May, laid out its platform recommendations on a number of key issues, including climate change, criminal justice reform, immigration policies, healthcare, education, and the economy in a 110-page document. Biden and Sanders focused heavily on police reforms, reducing incarceration following the death of George Floyd while in police custody, which has sparked nationwide protests. The healthcare platform focuses on expanding Obamacare rather than moving towards Sanders' Medicare for All. The commission also cared for environmental reforms, including carbon-free electricity generation by 2035. Sanders and Biden formed the task force shortly after the progressive senator endorsed Biden, despite their disagreements on a number of key issues, including Medicare for All. The task force is made up of an ideological diverse group of Democrats, including Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and former Secretary of State John Kerry. While Joe Biden and I and our supporters have strong disagreements about some of the most important issues facing our country, we also understand that we must come together in order to defeat Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in modern American history, Sanders said in a statement. Biden also praised the work of the task force, saying it has led to a bold transformative platform. I am deeply grateful to Senator Sanders for working together to unite our party and deliver real lasting change for generations to come, Biden said. The healthcare platform outlined in the document makes no mention of Sanders' signature Medicare for All plan, which will eliminate private health insurance and cover all Americans under a single government administrated plan. Instead, the proposal suggests allowing Americans to keep their private health insurance while also insisting on a so-called public option that would be administered by Medicare. Americans who do not qualify for Medicaid, the government program that extends health care to certain low-income Americans, but still fall below a certain income threshold, will automatically be enrolled in the new public program for free, though they will be given the opportunity to opt out of the program. Let's skim forward a little bit. On the economy, Democrats have a long list of proposals that said would even the playing field for the working class and racial minorities amid the coronavirus pandemic. The Democrats said they would reform the unemployment insurance system to ensure that more workers are covered, as well as expand paid sick leave protections. They plan to extend aid to local governments to address budget shortfalls from the coronavirus shutdown, payroll, and extend new loans to help small businesses stay open and make payroll. Democrats said they would also increase oversight of large businesses to ensure federal grants are not being used to enrich CEOs or shareholders. The Democrats support raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour while raising taxes on corporations and the nation's wealthiest. The Democrats are also promising to guarantee early childhood education, provide tuition-free access to public colleges for families making less than $125,000, cancel up to $10,000 of student debt for families, and limit interest on student loans. While the proposals outlined in the task force memo do not go nearly as far as some progressives have hoped, the recommendations are almost certain to draw criticism from President Trump and Republicans who have seized on a message that Democrats have lurched to the left in recent years, adopting positions once considered taboo in the country's mainstream political dialogue. Okay, so obviously this is not what Sanders supporters wanted. They wanted something way more progressive. They wanted Medicare for all. Obviously, Joe Biden does not want that. He will not have that. But what Bernie Sanders is trying to do is trying to draw his supporters over, which he's done a good job so far, and trying to get them over by giving Biden a platform recommendations of some progressive policies that he would like to see. Now, he didn't say, Medicare for all, free student tuition. He made it so that it still fits Joe Biden's policies, and it fits progressive policies too. So I think that Bernie Sanders supporters should be satisfied with this because this is the best they're going to get. It has some of their progressive policies that they wanted. Obviously, this is not their dream candidate. This is not their dream policies. They wanted free student free student tuition for colleges. They wanted Medicare for all. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But I think this is what Sanders supporters are going to get. And I think, for me, this should be enough to draw them over. If Biden takes all of these recommendations, which is not too bad for him. It doesn't state anything about Medicare for all, so he doesn't have to do Medicare for all. But here's the thing. Many people believe, and I think that the Sanders supporters would agree, if you're a Sanders supporter out there, Bernie Sanders' policies are way different than Joe Biden, for sure. But I believe that more Sanders supporters will go to Biden because they do not want to make the mistake that they did in 2016. They had 12% go to Trump. And I think really there was a big part in why Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 election was Sanders supporters didn't really think too much. They went to Donald Trump, and that's what lost Hillary Clinton the election. They don't want to make the same mistake again. Well, most of them actually didn't go to Donald Trump. They went to an independent candidate. So yeah, I think at this point, I think that this is enough for Sanders supporters to go to Joe Biden. Let me know if I'm wrong, Sanders supporters, but I think that this should be enough to draw you guys over to Joe Biden. So here's where I think Sanders supporters will go. If not, most Sanders supporters, I believe, will go to Joe Biden. I don't think that the Bernie or bust thing is going to hurt Joe Biden in this election. I think most of them will go to Joe Biden. I think that the second destination where Sanders supporters could go to would be the Green Party candidate, Howie Hawkins. I think that, that is close with their policies, but they don't want to make the same mistake again. The last Sanders supporters, I think that they realize that doing this again, going for the Green Party candidate, could reelect Donald Trump, and that is definitely not something that they want to do. So their views are way out from Joe Biden, but with this, I think that this should be enough to draw them over, and I think they will get drawn over, and I think they'll realize that going to the Green Party will only reelect Donald Trump. So let's look at Biden versus Bernie Sanders policies. How they compare. They are very different, but with this new plan, I think that this will be enough to draw Sanders supporters over to Joe Biden. Let me just pull this up here. So, healthcare. Biden has stuck by the Affordable Care Act plan, Obama's signature healthcare plan, but has offered proposals for enormous new subsidies to make coverage through Obamacare's exchanges less expensive. Sanders proposed Medicare for All, which Medicare for All is probably the biggest policy that Sanders supporters stand by. That's not going to happen, but I think Biden's plan, what Bernie's proposing to Biden, will be enough. With the climate crisis, Biden has proposed a climate crisis plan that would set the U.S. on track to eliminate net greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So yeah, that is Joe Biden's plan. Bernie Sanders on this is leading proponent of the Green New Deal and is calling for an ambitious climate crisis plan that includes a vast mobilization to halt and reverse the effects of global warming over a decade. Immigration. Biden's immigration platform outlines a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants while calling for board reversals of Trump's border policies. Sanders' immigration platform calls for a large-scale restructuring of the system through legislative action and a series of executive orders. Education. Biden's education platform would increase funding for schools in low-income areas, help teachers pay off their education debt, and double the number of health professionals working in schools. Sanders' education policy plan lays out a 10-point agenda that calls for the end of for-profit charter schools, creates a salary floor for public school teachers, guarantees free school meals for all students, and expands after-school and summer school programs. Gun violence. This will be the last one we look at. Biden's gun control plan will require owners of assault-style rifles to either sell their firearms through a voluntary buyback program or register them with the federal government. Sanders, who has come under criticism from Biden over his past Senate votes on gun control, is pushing for expanded background checks and to close various loopholes in firearm purchases. So I think that Bernie Sanders' policies are more similar to Joe Biden's, but they're still a lot different. So that is it for today. But I think that Joe Biden is doing a lot better job than what Hillary Clinton was doing as far as buying over, getting Bernie Sanders supporters to vote for him. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Leave suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.